Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with 7 years of experience, actually 8 years of experience, and over 1,200 matches under my belt. My gosh, I need to update my intro. And you can find me at refsneedlovetoo.com and on TikTok and now on Instagram, which I'm really trying to pick it up. This week, we got a more smorgasbord of topics, a veritable cornucopia from middle school to my mailbag, and I hope you enjoy. So let's hit middle school. What I love about it. Let me tell you, middle school is joy for me. I do MLS Next matches, ECNL matches, some of the highest levels of youth academy competition at all ages from 13 to 19. I do adult amateur, and then I do middle school. And let me tell you, middle school should be fun. It should be pure, unadulterated joy. Unadulterated, I think, is very important staying here because adults make youth sports bad. Sometimes they can be the worst part of youth sports in America, and it kills me. For those who don't know, middle school here in America is kids that are in what we would call 6th grade to 8th grade. So it is 12-year-old to about 14-year-old kids. These teams, these are not academy teams, and the areas where I do refereeing generally do not have academy players. I say that simply to set the scene, not that I lament the fact that there's no academy players. I actually love refereeing soccer or football, whatever you call it. I don't care about the skill level. I will tell you, actually, sometimes it is more difficult to referee lower level of skill matches because the game is much more congested. The fouls, if there are fouls, can be very clumsy. The over-under for these games are not how many goals will be scored. It's how many foul throw-ins will there be. I mean, honestly, I feel like a good part of what I do out there is teaching sometimes more than I am actually being a referee. And that's not a bad thing. This should be a place where kids can come and they can compete and have fun and enjoy themselves and fall in love with the game of soccer. That is what it should be. I love the people I meet when I come to these middle school games, my fellow referees. One guy I ref with last week is from Haiti and French speaking. One guy I refed with yesterday and on Wednesday was from Cameroon and French speaking. And one of the coaches is from Togo and he's French speaking. So it was cool hanging out with my friends and going, bonjour, salut, ça va? And having a great time meeting people from all over the world, which is really cool. But sometimes the coaches and the parents can turn this into something it is not, okay, which is a, win at all costs, zero-sum game where if you're not winning, like every challenge, every moment, giving up a goal, it is the end of the world. Why does everything have to freaking be like that in this society? Why can't there be some places, such as middle school, where there is no championship, no one's getting scholarships, like there is no like promotion and relegation. Why can't this just be where kids come to get a little exercise, have some fun, compete, play an organized game of soccer? I am telling you, 95% of the kids that are on these pitches playing these middle school matches where I am do not play organized soccer. And you can tell that because I know like in my affluent suburb that I live in, our schools do not even have middle school soccer. And a big part of the reason why is because many of those kids who would play actually play in academies and they wouldn't be able to do both. Okay. So these schools that actually have middle school soccer, they actually do not have a lot of kids who play in academy soccer. I'm just going to set the scene for you. I live in the southwest side of Atlanta, just south of the perimeter here. But if you know the area, a very diverse area of Atlanta, and inside the perimeter of Atlanta, in the area where I am in South Fulton County, very diverse. Yesterday at the soccer field, and I'm just saying to set the scene, okay, I was the only Caucasian person on the entire pitch, including my fellow referee, all the parents, all the players, the only one. Okay. It is, generally in America, soccer is or has been historically, a Caucasian suburban sport. Now I know it's grown in popularity, and obviously, our Latino community and people from other parts of the world, play football, soccer, just as their kind of native sport and what they love. But the main sport of the countries they're coming from, but historically, it has not necessarily been an inner city sport. Now, in Atlanta, we have Soccer in the Streets, which is an unbelievable program that's bringing soccer to all parts of Atlanta and all people of Atlanta, but has not been historically the thing. So when you go to the soccer pitches that I go to, where, the grass might be 3 inches long, maybe they have lines, maybe they don't have lines, or the lines were, painted 2 weeks ago, but they've mowed since then. You can't see the lines, and they don't have corner flags, and we use little cones, and they don't have the goals properly secured, and we've got to use book bags, whatever. We go there to get to play, to allow these kids to play the beautiful game and hopefully fall in love with it. One time I had a middle school match, and I kid you not kidding, this is real, true story. I know it's story time, but this is a true story, where one middle school coach, and this was someone who knows what they're doing. Their kid played at a high-level academy, used to play on my son's team, and he was the high school coach. One of his players, who barely had skill to kick a ball, kind of miskicked it, the ball going forward, went behind him, and so he runs and kicks it back towards his goalkeeper. And the coach screams out loud at this kid for everyone to hear. I mean, you sitting across the pitch, man, I tell you, if you're a half a mile away, you may have heard this guy scream. He's got a really loud voice. And he screamed, "If you ever kick the ball backward again, that's going to be the end of your middle school career." I'm like, what? Are you kidding? I mean, just in shock. Seriously. And you hear parents at these games and coaches at these games sometimes just screaming at these kids for every single, bad pass, there's not many passes, but bad touch, mistake these kids made. I mean, my gosh, can we not have some place that people can go just to have the joy of playing a sport and competing? Can there be a safe place, some place for these kids? I mean, my gosh, I think about myself as a kid, and we'd go out in the streets. I grew up in New York City, and you'd go out in the middle of the street, and we'd play stickball, and we'd play football, and we'd play basketball, and we just played, and we had fun. And it seems like so few kids just get to go someplace to play and have fun and enjoy the love of competing and getting sweaty and running around with your friends. Why can't there be a place like that anymore? Especially here in the suburbs, man, or in the inner city, both. It is so saddening to me, so saddening for me. So I wish, coaches would be a little bit more focused on making sure that the kids get to participate, that they get to have fun, and they keep all the negative energy away from the pitch. That's what I hope for middle school. But I love it. I wind up teaching just as much as I am refereeing, and I think that's so important. And helping people understand the laws of the game, helping people understand how to do a correct throw-in. That's a good thing. Helping people, like the goalkeeper. Hey, you can take the ball all the way to the edge of that penalty area there before you kick it, as opposed to right in their goal mouth. Things like that. Calling fouls so that they recognize that this is not American football, and you can't just drop your shoulder into a kid and completely, crush them. I mean, I gave a yellow card to a kid last night, and it's a teaching tool, and he was great the rest of the game. Literally 2 minutes into the game, he completely runs. He was probably the biggest kid on the pitch, and runs completely through, this girl. It was a co-ed game, after she had released the ball, hard. And first time foul. And I walked up and I'm like, "Hey man, don't do that. Please play the ball. Please make a challenge on the ball. You can't go through the player like that." And not 2 minutes later, similar thing. Someone kicks the ball up the field and he crushes him, lowers the shoulder, and hits him. I mean, it wasn't violent conduct, but it was definitely reckless. And I gave the yellow card. And that yellow card is a teaching moment. It's like, "Hey, man, I want you on this pitch. I want you here playing, but you cannot continue to do that." And so they sub off in middle school, high school here. Coach gets to talk to him. And the rest of the match, he was great. He was great. He knew he was more athletic, and instead of running through people, he'd run around them to go get the ball. It was wonderful. So it's a teaching moment as a referee, and I love those moments. As much as I love the high-level academy, I love going to places where people are learning the game and hopefully falling in love with the game for the rest of their life. So, oh, gosh, Love that stuff. I just wish adults wouldn't make it so negative for the kids out there. All right. Next topic here. So I don't know if you saw my videos this week, but I posted a video about the Marshall University and University of Central Florida soccer match that ended very controversially. Okay, so the scene is it's 1-0 and there's like 50 seconds left, and UCF kicks the ball from their side of the pitch, the goalkeeper, in on a long shot to try and play it up to someone who could head the ball in. Didn't work out. Keeper for Marshall catches the ball and waits for everyone to get out, and he's going to then play the ball up the pitch. Now, when he catches this, one of the UCF attackers and he's like at the penalty spot, decides that he's going to try and hide from the goalkeeper and maybe catch the goalkeeper off guard when he puts the ball down to play it up the pitch. And he does do that. He actually does hide from the goalkeeper and sneaks up from behind and pokes the ball to one of his fellow attackers, and they wind up scoring and run to the corner and celebrate, thinking they've tied it 1-1 with like 25 seconds left, and everyone is going bananas. Absolutely bananas. But wait, there's more. So the assistant referee on that side of the pitch notices that not only does this player on UCF walk towards the goal to try and hide behind the goalkeeper, he actually steps off of the pitch. So off the pitch, probably a yard off the pitch by one of the goalposts in an effort to try and hide. So he is deliberately leaving the field of play without the referee's permission. Because if it's part of the play, like running down the sideline and you kind of tap a ball back in and you're running outside of the touch line, or you go to header a ball in a corner and you wind up going, off the field and you come back on, that's totally fine. But when you deliberately decide to walk off the pitch to hide, to try and deceive someone, well, that's a cautionable offense and against the laws of the game. And this assistant referee on that side of the pitch saw that, knew that was what was going on, and specifically mentioned it to the referee. This is a collegiate game and they had comms, so he was talking into the referee's ear. But when the goal was scored, he did not run up the touchline to signal a goal. He stayed put. Referee went over to him. They had that conversation and made the difficult call, walking over to the coaches and explaining, I'm sorry, that player deliberately left the field without permission. That's a cautionable offense. It is no goal, and waved it off. And man, everyone went bananas. But my gosh, what an amazing realization from that assistant referee. I mean, that is not a common play. It's not something you expect to happen. And that's one of the things about being a referee. You got to be ready for anything. Every game is different. I think that's why I love it so much. Huge credit to this assistant referee for being aware, for recognizing what was going on, for communicating what was going on, and standing strong in a very, very highly charged situation, which he knew this was going to be an unpopular decision, right? If he didn't say anything, easy, goal, who cares? Everyone moves forward, no problem. But let me tell you, my high school yearbook quote, it is better to stand alone for the right reasons than be together for the wrong. I'll say that one more time. It is better to stand alone for the right reasons than be together for the wrong. That is our job as referees. We make calls. We make decisions based on the laws of the game. Even if we know it might make someone upset, that's not our concern. Our concern is implementing the laws of the game based on our knowledge of our game and what we saw in that moment in time. So kudos to that referee. A wonderful job. I mean, just should be, get an award at the end of the year for making that call. It was huge. All right, next topic. Ontario. That's right, the province of Ontario, Canada, where I lived and worked for about 4 years of my life, is going to start trialing body cams. That's right, body cams. And that is fantastic news. In England, they trialed body cams up in the Liverpool area, and incidences of assault and abuse went down dramatically. It's true. People simply behave better when they know they are on camera. That is a simple fact. Referees feel more confident dealing with situations of dissent and hard fouls because they know they're protected by the camera. Now, let me explain a little bit about how this camera actually works. It is not capturing 100% of the match because the data storage on that would be brutal. And then also the post editing, if you will, the video editing would be difficult as well. Essentially how this thing works, it hangs in the center of the chest. And if the referee feels like they need to capture something, that someone is becoming threatening or there's verbal dissent, they simply tap the camera in their chest and it records or captures the previous 30 seconds. So it's always recording, but only holding on to a certain amount of data. So they tap that and it captures what was happening the 30 seconds before and continues until they tap the camera again to shut it off. And it's dramatic as to what has happened. Dramatic. They have had zero, I'm talking zero physical assaults since these cameras have in place. They've got 100 referees trying this. Zero. The dissents have gone down dramatically. Incidents of verbal abuse and dissent have gone down dramatically, over 90%. Because what happens is someone will start to lose their head and one of their buddies will be like, yeah, he's got a camera on. Shut up. Okay. And they've tried other things. Last year they had the sin bin where, and if you're not familiar, I played rugby when I was in university and that was my first refereeing. For a couple of years I was a rugby referee. But a sin bin is where if someone gets a yellow card for dissent specifically, they have in football trials over in England that they have to go out for 10 minutes. So if you dissent, you could do a regular yellow card, but you could also do a yellow card for a sin bin as well for the dissent. That was really over the top. And so their team is to play down to 10 men for 10 minutes, which by the way, I love. And I wish we would have that here in the US, even without cameras. That's fantastic. Let's do it. And that has been helpful. But it's not nearly as effective as the camera. Absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for U.S. soccer to wake up and allow us here in the United States to use technology like this on these types of trials. I mean, please sign me up. Hey, if you know anyone at U.S. soccer, who can approve this, bring it. I would love to do this. That would be fantastic. Also, can I give another shout out again for communication devices? Why in the world do we have a blanket ban on these things? It is so absolutely stupid. It is so short-sighted. It drives me insane, especially for high-level matches like MLS Next and ECNL matches that I do. I would love to use comms devices on those matches with my fellow officials. Things are happening fast. Players are intelligent. We're playing offside traps. We got people, pulling people, behind the play that's hard to see as a center referee. I want my ARs to be talking in my ears. I mean, I want to be able to talk to them. Like, why can't we do this? My gosh. Another thing about comms devices, one of my son's former teammates, he decided after high school that he was going to go try and make it as a professional player in Europe. And unfortunately, he's not able to get his visa situation worked out. And so after 6 months, he's now having to come home. He, did not apply to college because he was really going to try and make it as a professional player and has to come back home. And until he can go to college again, hopefully this spring, if he can get in January, he wants to work. And he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I'd love to ref. And I'm like, great. That'd be great. Go get your online certification. You'll do your in-person. You'll be great. I'd love to ref with you. And man, I think about him and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I was able to use comms with him because it would so accelerate his learning curve. Whether he was working as an assistant referee and he's sitting on the sign, whether he was literally just watching me ref and he's sitting in the stands and listening to me. Oh my gosh. And hearing my thought process and decisions and talking about where I am on the pitch. Where am I setting up for this corner kick? Where am I setting up for this free kick? What angle am I running, to get in the right position for this counterattack? My thought process on foul. Why is that a reckless foul? Why is that, a careless foul? Why is that serious foul play and excessive force and brutality? All of those things. If he was in the center of the pitch, I'm sure he would have questions for me too if I was working as his assistant referee. Man, I could even give him feedback, hey, 45 degree angle. Okay, make sure you hold that flag up on that offside. Okay, show me where the location is now. Is it close? Is it medium? Is it far? I mean, like all of those things would be so much faster, so much more efficient if I had the use of comms. So I'm sorry. I know I've blown this whistle a few times and tooted that horn, but man, it just really drives me nuts. A couple more topics here. If you are a listener to this podcast, you'll know that I was invited as a featured speaker to come on up to the National Association of Women's Gymnastics Judges conference about a month or two back, and it was wonderful. And I was a featured speaker there, and I got for an hour to be in person. It was fabulous. Well, I was recently asked by one of the regions, because not everyone goes to these national conferences, to do something for their judges in their region. And so I did a webinar for them. And in addition to the content that I talked about with referee assault and abuse, I also went into the topic of the culture that we want to create for our fellow officials and judges, because that is absolutely key to developing the next generation, but also just creating an environment where we can do our best work. If you feel that you're not respected, or you feel that you're being treated unfairly by your fellow judges, or it's not a welcoming environment, I would say that is not a great place to do your best work. If you are, just even in a professional environment, if you have happy employees who feel trusted and supported, they're going to do better work than employees who feel like they're constantly dismissed and they're talked down to, and they don't feel that they can do their best work, that their mind's not in the right place because they're too self-conscious about, what if I do something wrong or something of that nature, or maybe that person doesn't like me. So I think it's really important that we recognize that creating a culture among fellow officials starts with us. I'm a big believer in be the change you wish to create. I'm also a big believer in treating people as you would want to be treated. I recognize that as officials, maybe when you were coming up as a referee or an official or judge or umpire, whatever you were, maybe you worked with some senior level referees or umpires or whatever that might be, and they weren't very nice and they talked down to you, and maybe they didn't give you the time of day. Don't be that guy or girl. Don't be that person. Please try and create a culture of love and respect and support. Because when you were first starting out and you were only 1 year in or 2 years in or 2 days in, you made mistakes. Don't criticize people for that. Help them learn from those mistakes. Okay? Help me understand your decision that you made, as opposed to saying, man, you really messed that one up. Hey, walk me through that call. You didn't wind up making calling a foul on that one. Why do you feel that was not a foul? What did you see? And again, ask questions. Help them discover the answer. Okay. You can't force someone to learn, but you can help someone learn. Be that person who's helpful and creates that culture of love and respect so that they gain confidence and gain experience and want to stick with it. Again, 70 to 80% of referees leave in the first 3 years. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution and be kind and supportive of one another. It's really important for us to do that. This one is a specific request. So next topic here, I had a request from Claire over in the UK. And if you're listening, Claire, hey, thank you so much for reaching out to me. Not everyone has TikTok, which I've learned. And so I've started up my Instagram a bit more, but also people dig this podcast. And she wanted to specifically ask, what do I say to teams pre-match? Now, for a large part of my adult life, was actually a professional trainer, like sales trainer. And I know that if you try and tell someone 10 things, they'll remember nothing. That's right. If you say 10 things, they'll remember nothing at all. So it's really important that you keep your pregame really, really focused. And the most important thing for me is communication. So when I go up, yes, I do make sure that players are properly equipped. They're wearing their right uniforms, numbers and everything, got that, and they got their shin guards. And I make a little joke about, hey guys, please make sure all earrings are out, nose rings, belly rings, tongue rings, all those things. Please get anything metallic out before you step onto this pitch. And I don't care if it's got tape on it, if it's in your ear, it's coming out or you're not playing. So I do address that. I keep it pretty short and sweet. But the thing I do address is communication. And I say, hey guys, today, this same nice calm tone that I'm using with you right now is the exact same calm professional tone that you're going to hear from me when I'm on the pitch. I don't mind you asking questions. Now, we're certainly I can't ask a question on every single call that I make, and I'm certainly not going to have the time to explain every call I make. But if there is a situation where you do not understand a call, I don't mind someone coming up and say, hey, ref, can you help me understand that call? Sure, no problem. If I've got the time, if we're stopped for like a ceremonial free kick and we're set up, I don't mind explaining what I saw. No problem at all. But I will promise you, we are not going to argue a call. And I would tell you that 99.99% of the time, I'm never going to change my call. So it really doesn't, do you any benefit to argue unless you want to earn yourself a caution for dissent. So is that understood? Is that fair? And usually everyone's like, yep, sounds good. And that's it. That's all I do. I don't go into, hey, make sure you're not pulling here. Hey, make sure you're not doing that. Because I use my voice and communicate and my whistle on the pitch to set the tone for the game. I'm in the first 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes of every match, I'm looking for an opportunity to call a foul so I can set the bar for what I want this match to be. I am one of those people who wants to see beautiful football played. I want to see the laws of the game implemented and beautiful football played. I am not one of those people who's like, I just want to let them play. We'll see what happens. I'm sorry. I do not want the game to get so out of hand that it's impossible to bring back in, and then we've got fights and everyone's screaming and crying, and then I try and implement the laws of the game. No, I implement the laws of the game from the first kick of the game, and we will have a great day together. And I mean, that's my gig. And I think people love that. So that's just what I do. If you try and say 10 things to them at the beginning of the game, they're not going to remember a single thing. Focus on one that's most important. And for me, that's communication, how to communicate with me, how I'm going to communicate with you, and how we're going to get along. And that's what I focus on. All right, cool. This last part of the call today, or the podcast, and I'm really excited about this one, is the mailbag. That's right. So I get a bunch of messages that are sent to me from, all over the world. Every single week, I get people that send me stuff. And I think it's so, some of them are funny. Some of them are sweet. Some of them are kind. Like, just that one where I got a message from Clara in the UK asking me to do something from the podcast. I get all sorts of stuff. Sometimes I get, oftentimes I get, issues. Hey, how do I deal with this, or questions? But I get some that just remind us how difficult of a job that we have as referees. Here's one that I got. I got these two ones that I'm going to read you back to back here within like 30 minutes of each other last Saturday evening. So these are both from the UK. Okay, here it reads. Well, first day of the season, and I had to abandon a match after giving 3 red cards for violent conduct. The away team's linesman, so I'm assuming this is in England, started fighting parents after it and caused a parent brawl. So this is, I think this was, you told me it was like a U15 match, and we had 3 red cards for violent conduct, and the away team's linesman, so they had a neutral linesman that was supplied, or not neutral, but a club-supplied linesman, started getting into a fight and caused a parent brawl on the sideline. Oh my gosh. And then he writes, and then home coach made it worse. So kicked off all again after I abandoned it. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, why is it that parents have to be the worst part of youth soccer in America? Why? Or around the world, youth football in the world. Like, come on, people. It's not about you. Let your kids have fun and enjoy themselves and learn good life lessons. Obviously, this team just wanted to seem to fight, but ridiculous. Okay, next one. And literally, I kid you not, I got these within moments of each other last week. It reads, had to caution a coach during the game who was screaming at me for being biased for knowing everyone on the opposition's team's first name. Now, this one is so interesting because, like, today, I'm going down to my local club where my son used to play. He's now graduated now. He doesn't play there anymore. It's, convenient for me. It's 10 miles from my house. They get good level of competition there, and I love working there. And so I know kids who go to the local schools who might be friends with my daughter or my son. And, I know the kids. I've reffed there, they play on the local high school teams and stuff like that. You see them enough, you know their names. And I try and get people's names at check-in when I'm going through the roster. I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly, especially those talented kids, because you're going to need to talk to them during the game. Sometimes using their name in conversation, where the coach's name is just enough to kind of break through that reptilian brain and get back to that human brain that can use logic and reasoning and calm people down. So I think it's so important. So the coach got so upset because he was using the opposition names, think he was biased. So he gave him a caution, yelled at him for calling him biased. Now, biased may be something that you may have to go red card if he's yelling about, favoring another team or not being, proper official. So he gave him a yellow card. And then after this coach wound up losing the match 4-1, he started moaning at the referee and talking at him again, continuing the same line of him being, biased ref. And so he gave him a second caution and a red card. And then the coach walks away, and the ref's like, I'm thinking that it's over. However, afterwards he comes marching back to him saying, and I quote, "If I ever see you outside of football, I'm going to effing kill you." Literally, he wrote the actual word, but I just went with effing. He says, "Honestly, know your lights out again, and you won't do anything like this again." And so the referee, shows another red card. Well, he's already been sent off. Player takes him away, and then he turns around, comes at him again, and says, "Seriously, I'll smash you up," screaming that at the referee. And so this is a teenager, so had to write a crazy report, definitely. But it's just absolutely insane. And he actually goes on to write that he had to go on to a Zoom call tribunal about it, and that this ref has previously been banned for laying his hands on a ref. Like, how in the world is this person allowed to be on a pitch with children? Or any soccer pitch, for that matter. Absolutely insane. Oh, vey is mia. Okay, I got a couple more here that are just, really fascinating. Want to do this one here. This one is in Scotland. This is an 18-year-old referee and a youth match. And 2 minutes into the match, the red uniforms, blue uniforms, red team, blue team. 2 minutes into the match, he gives a throw-in to the red team, and the opposing coach yells out for everyone to hear, "That's a blue ball, you effing C word." So effing starts with a C, ends with a T, word. And had to give him a red card for that 2 minutes into the match. I mean, come on, people. In what world is that okay? Especially around children. Oh my gosh. Absolutely killing me. So just so much fun, man. Just absolutely bananas. And I'll just end with one positive one. This is just very simple. It's just, I get a lot of problems every day. I get a lot of questions every day. I get a lot of videos, but sometimes I just get messages of thank you and appreciation. This one is, "Hey, I'm a referee here in Florida, and I just want to say I love what you're doing, and also that I learned from your videos. Thank you." This was another one. "Hey, I love your page, man. I always want you to follow someone making legit referee content. Love this kind of stuff." So I do love getting, these messages from people who, appreciate the channel. It does inspire me. It keeps me going. I'll just read one more here. It says, "Gerson, love your channel. I was a referee for about 4 years back in 2010, 2014, and loved it, but let it slip as I went to school and got a job post-grad. Your channel inspired me to get back into it, and yesterday I got certified again. I ordered your write-on cards and can't wait to use them. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Your content is informative, thought-provoking, and entertaining. I was watching the Manchester City game with the red card for hands to the neck and thought of you a few hours later, saw your review of it, and I had missed the phone in hands. It could have been called as well. Great job. Keep up the amazing work. Stay safe out there." James, if you're listening, thank you, man. Yeah, you're literally bringing tears of joy to my eyes. I love doing this. It has added so much to my life and so much to my family's life, and just changed my future. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who sends me the messages. It's so inspirational. The good, the bad, the ugly. I love every single one. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's pod. Life as a referee is always unpredictable. You never know what to expect in every match. and I think that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. If you like the show and my content, please consider supporting me by purchasing some merch from refsneedlovetoo.com or on TikTok or Insta. The pod website, everything else I do has a cost beyond my time, whether it's the podcast software that you're listening to this, on has to get paid for in a monthly subscription, the microphone, the lights and all that kind of stuff. It helps cover the cost of doing this. I want to wish you absolute good luck on the pitch, and I hope your next game is red card free.